Budweiser. Budweiser.
Sorry about that time. I turned you into a frog.
It was a wonderful joke.
It was indeed hilarious.
So, a little background. For every Hero Man franchise, there's a female who can do the same thing. So Thor got his lady counterpart in 2011 with Jane Foster, but before that, there was an amphibian wielding the hammer of the gods. Yes, 30 years before women had equal share in the pages of Marvel Comics, at least in the Thor titles. A frog could wield Thor's hammer. In 1986, we had our frog carrying Mjolnir. Okay, so the frog was actually Thor because of some weird magical spell put on him by Loki, and like Thordis, this was a short-lived form. But someone, or something else during that time, received powers akin to the god of thunder. The Frog of Thunder. Throg.
Ow! Ribbit.
We're dropping shock.
Simon Walterson is actually an ex-football player who gets married and has a slightly normal life. He and his wife devoted their lives to helping those who were less fortunate. However, suddenly his wife dies as well as his unborn child. Stricken with grief, he seeks out mystics, psychics, fortune tellers, and other mediums to speak with his wife one last time. He eventually comes across a witch who gives Simon an authentic connection to speak with his wife in the afterlife. However, he was out of money to pay for her services, so she cursed him, and he transformed into a frog. What follows is Simon's life as an amphibian in Central Park, New York City. This is where he becomes part of the Frog Collective and is given the nickname Puddle Gulp. He aids his frog group in a constant war with the rats of the area. In this comic, Puddle Gulp inadvertently runs into Thor, who had also been turned into a frog by Loki, although he still has all his warrior training and wits about him. The Frog Thor easily defeats a group of rats and befriends Puddle Gulp and the rest of the Frog Collective. However, Walterson finds out that the rats are planning to take their revenge on the Frog Thor. In trying to locate him, he finds out his secret as two large goats come to bring the Asgardian-turned-amphibian's hammer. Suddenly, the amphibious Thor turns into a version of himself with the iconic armor, but still as a frog. These events took place in Thor number 364 in 1986. The story of Puddle Gulp does not happen until long after. Walterson Puddle Gulp then becomes the target of the rats, as their true target, Thor, had been taken back to Asgard by the goats, Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder. However, one of the goats, in giving Mjolnir back to the Asgardian, had chipped off a sliver of it accidentally. Walterson picks up the piece in an attempt to defend himself against the horde of rats and slams it against the ground. The piece reacts and becomes a smaller version of Mjolnir for the frog to carry, and now he's decked out in the same armor as the frog version of Thor Odinson. From that point on, he calls himself Throg, and he named the hammer Frog Mjolnir. He continues to protect the pond at Central Park. His introduction was given in the Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers #1 in July of 2009, a good 5 years before Jane Foster gets Mjolnir proper and Thor becomes unworthy. Okay, aside from battling rats, there is a story that Throg contributes to the Pet Avengers. At this time, Reed Richards and members of the Illuminati are looking to keep the Infinity Gems so they don't fall into the wrong hands. One of them is buried on the moon, where the Inhumans are, and Lockjaw finds it buried. And as dogs do, he digs it up and swallows it. And the power in the gem gives Lockjaw the ability to read and project thoughts. His first stop, as he teleports away, is to Central Park, where he meets Throg. Throg joins Lockjaw's quest after sharing his tragic tale. Soon after, they recruit other members to the team, like Lockheed, Red Wing, Hairball, and Ms. Lion. During their adventure, they manage to gather all 6 Infinity Gems and defeat Thanos. The team is dubbed Pet Avengers, and all the members share a psychic link together, and they agree to assemble if they were ever needed again. Lockjaw returns to Attilan and presents the gems to Reed Richards, much to his surprise. Throg eventually finds his place amongst a community of mythical creatures in subsequent issues of Lockjaw and the Pet Avengers. There's also an event where the Pet Avengers have to respond to a distress call from the actual Avengers, only to find Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man have been turned into frogs. The pets get swallowed by dragons, and they eventually escape from the dragons. At some point, the animal group finds out that the dragons are actually looking for their eggs in order to protect them. At the end of the book, it comes down to the Pet Avengers fighting against the actual Avengers, holding them off so the dragons could carry their eggs off to a place where they could hatch. So the Frog has been somewhat of a mainstay in comics over the past few years. Despite being part of a group effort, his arc did tie in with classic Thor storylines. It wasn't like he was the dog. So whatever it is, they decided to stick with the Frog idea because of that bizarre storyline of Frog Thor in 1986. So we've got Throg. We've seen this storyline for Thor at least in the cartoon television series, and there was mention of it in Thor Ragnarok as we saw from the clip earlier. However, whoever is in charge up there hasn't pulled the trigger on a solo Throg title. We have seen him in the Thor Corps, though, as part of the Thor group Police Force for God Emperor Doom. Either way, dog or frog, I'm just looking for a good laugh at some point. I'm hoping that I won't just be getting my chuckles from the new warriors. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the Frog of Thunder, Simon Walterson. Leave a comment below and let's talk about it on social media. Don't forget to smash the like button and follow Bounding Into Comics for the latest takes on all pop culture nerdy news out there. Until next time.